Hi, everyone. Welcome to Ad Age Remotely. I'm Aleda Stam, Senior Agency Reporter at Ad Age. Thanks so much for tuning in with us today. Joining us is Bryan, Chief Sustainability Officer at IPG Mediabrands. Martin, thanks so much for being here.
Thank you for having me. Great to see you.
Yeah, before we get started, for those watching, if you like what we're doing here on Ad Age Remotely, please like, subscribe, share, or retweet this post. Now, Martin, you had a bit of an unusual path getting into the sustainability space. You're an actual farmer, right?
That's right. I spent my 20s after a brief stint working in investment finance. I actually spent quite a few years working in regenerative agriculture. I was really passionate about supporting these small and medium-sized farmers because without food, what do we do as a society? So I was really passionate about supporting them and learning more about regenerative agriculture and also getting to travel and see a lot more of the world and meet a lot of different interesting, fascinating people.
And then you transitioned into the ad space, and now you're trying to do it, globally.
That's right. It was an interesting journey for me to get to this world. Advertising wasn't necessarily first and foremost for me as a sector that I considered. But when I actually joined IPG Mediabrands, it was really a light bulb went off for me. And also the community in which I was working with was really supportive of us identifying ways that we can make media be a force for good. So it was a natural synergy with my passion and desire to create a more sustainable world by working at an agency group that was really focused on how we can be more responsible with the incredible privilege and power that we have in connecting with consumers on behalf of our clients. So thinking about how advertising can drive that positive adoption of climate action is something that I'm really focused on and really honored that I have the great privilege of leading IPG Mediabrands sustainability efforts.
And one of the ways that you've been doing that has been focusing on reducing carbon emissions in the media supply chain to net zero. Can you briefly explain to people who might not understand, like I did when I first got into this space, what exactly that means? How does a digital ad create a carbon footprint?
It's a great question, and I like to start with an interesting stat actually, which is that the internet generates more greenhouse gas emissions than the global aviation industry, and that's shocking often for people to realize. Goodness, I didn't realize by us right now streaming this on our laptops, on our devices, we are actually creating emissions because of the energy required to power the all of the ad tech that's required behind the scenes. There's actually a lot of emissions that are generated and a lot of power required in order to get the ads up and to get us connected right now. So it's all of that kind of hidden energy demand that is what we're focused on identifying and reducing. 93% of what we need to do globally right now, according to Project Drawdown and experts, is we need to focus on reduction of demand of energy. So right now, again, there's a server farm that is supporting the streaming of this broadcast. We're all using various devices that also generate greenhouse gas emissions because of the energy required to power our screens. So it's a lot of consideration as we think about each and every step of the delivery of an ad. There's a different stakeholder that's involved, whether it's ad tech or publishers or within the buying process of bidding the ads. There's a number of ways that we can be more responsible, and that's exactly what we're focused on identifying.
And one of the ways in our previous conversations we've discussed, the first step is measurement, being able to measure how much your carbon emissions are, what sort of KPIs are you using for that? So where are you in that journey now? Have we come to a consensus?
Oh gosh, that's the most important question right now as it pertains to measurement, is ensuring that we as an industry are focused on the consolidation of all of our efforts around the adoption of and the development of industry standards. In fact, I was just on a call earlier this morning with an important working body on this exact question through the WFA and GARM. We are actually working aggressively towards the adoption of and the defining of standards for measurement globally, which is terribly exciting and really, really important. Through AdNet Zero, the industry working group that's also in partnership with GARM focused on the development of this. We're actually seeing pre-competitive collaboration amongst the buy side and the sell side that we've frankly never seen before. So we're hoping to have the adoption of standards that will then be rolled out globally by the end of this year. So that's terribly exciting. It's an incredibly important step for us to ensure that there is a standard in place, because currently each of the holding companies on the buy side, we all have slight variances on measurement methodologies that we are pre-competitively collaborating with GARM, with AdNet Zero to define those standards. So end of year, but the good news is we do have existing guidance that folks can access, and I would recommend people check out GARM's Sustainability Quick Action Guide, which is something that you can go Google that right now, and you can download that. There's a 10-point guidance on things that within our industry we can do today as we're waiting for the standards by end of year.
How has collaborating with the other holding companies been during this process? I know that, agencies can be very competitive, but when it comes to something like this, it's kind of better if, you all come together. So how has that worked out so far?
Listen, it's been fantastic. My peers that work across all of the major holding companies, we've been able to get together and we're really working towards a shared goal. Climate change requires collaboration. Climate action is only going to be successful if every single industry works on reduction, works on doing our part, but it also requires collaboration. And this is one of those unique moments in time in our world in which we are all coming together. There in every single sector are similar working groups like we are seeing in the advertising industry, because we know we got to do it. That 93% of reduction is not going to happen if we're all competing and not working together. So, and the thing I think that's exciting is we're actually going to compete like heck when we get those standards in place. And the goal will be who can reduce the fastest. And I'm going to put it out there. I think IPG Mediabrands might just win.
Of course, of course. What kind of conversations are you having with your other partners in the supply chain? The SSPs, the publishers, things like that. How have those conversations been going?
Yeah, listen, there are a number of partners that are on this journey with us. We are working actively with Scope 3, who are our ad tech measurement partner, that support us in the development of those best practices and insights in partnership with the IAB Tech Lab. So there are tons of working groups with the sell side support and those partners, the DSPs, the SSPs, the publishers, who all recognize that we're actually putting our money where our mouth is. So it really is incumbent upon those on the sell side to focus on solutions that enable us to reach some of the goals that we've set. For example, at IPG Mediabrands, we set a 30% reduction goal in our programmatic emissions in 1 year. So by April of next year, we're going to achieve that only if we work with partners to help our clients actually purchase inventory in a responsible way. So again, we're really leveraging the carrot mentality of we're going to go with partners that are going to go on that journey with us. And in capitalism and in the society in which we live, I think climate action will be in alignment with when finance and when investment drives that within the industry. And we're doing that at IPG Mediabrands.
Yeah, I want to dig a little bit more into that. There are a lot of people that think, from the top down, that they're a little skeptical about making actual change when profits are the bottom line. Can you dig in a little bit more about how, from the research that you've done, that doing climate action can actually support and be more profitable when it comes to advertising?
Hey, that's our foundational belief. We believe that purpose and profit work together. And the only way we believe we're going to drive this substantive action as quickly as possible is by digging into and identifying those positive levers of action that are going to drive bottom line growth for our clients. Because we're in the business of supporting growth. We're in the business of supporting the ambitions, the marketing efforts of our clients and being successful in that. So we will only be successful if ensuring by working on sustainability and sustainable efforts that it will also in tandem drive profit for our clients. So that's exactly what we've been on the journey doing. And in fact, you published yesterday a study that we did in partnership with one of our partners, AdLook, which showed that there was a very positive correlation between purpose and profit. In fact, with their technology of pre-bid optimization in programmatic, we're able to optimize towards attention and viewability to the tune of a 65% increase that also yielded an 18% decrease in cost. So it's this fantastic combination of purpose and profit that each of our studies is focused on, because we know that, again, we will only achieve great success quickly if we can, again, help support the endeavors of our clients.
Have you found that there's been any resistance talking across, the holding companies, dealing with executives that, maybe are a little bit more concerned with profit versus sustainability, or has everybody been on board?
I think it's because we've always taken that belief that purpose and profit work hand in hand, that in fact, we don't see that resistance because that isn't actually, that's a moot point. And the reason for that is when you think about that 93% reduction that's required, what that means is you actually need to focus on reducing certain behaviors, or changing, I should say, certain behaviors. Great example, travel. Business travel needs to be reduced. We need to take a concerted look at what required travel is absolutely essential, where we are able to consolidate business trips to ensure, again, it's very important for us to meet with our clients and ensure that we're appropriately servicing our accounts. But we want to make sure that we're being responsible with the emissions that are generated from flights, for example. Because we are years off of broad adoption of sustainable aviation fuel. And while it's less energy intensive than the internet, aviation still is a pretty big contributor to our scope 3 emissions. And it's something that we need to ensure we've got really clear policies in place. So when I have conversations with our global CFOs and our local CFOs, in fact, a lot of the policies that we're going to implement and that we are implementing, in fact, do have a positive correlation with profitability.
It sounds like everyone's going to have to get a little creative getting to Cannes next year.
Exactly.
Speaking of Cannes, there was quite a bit of hullabaloo from climate activists while people were there that are critical of large companies that promise to reduce or neutralize their carbon emissions, but then work with fossil fuel clients. How do you manage that as a chief sustainability officer?
Yeah, it's a very important question when you think of the work that we do, growing business for a number of sectors. Carbon intensive clients, in fact, are part of a portfolio mix of every agency group. While it is single digits for IPG, the energy sector, it is still for us a consideration. So we have a policy in place where we will not take on any new fossil fuel clients, while also being responsible with the clients that we do have. We've recently rolled out a training that was run by our legal team to support those accounts in being able to identify greenwashing. So that's something that we have training in place because it's really important to support our clients, regardless of the sector that they're in, to mitigate the reputational risk that they might endure as a result of potential missteps related to greenwashing. So that is something that, again, we're seeing enhanced regulation across a number of markets in EMEA and in the United States as well. So it's a real concern and a real focus for us at IPG Mediabrands.
Do you make any concerted efforts to see change within your clients? I mean, other than trying to, stop greenwashing, is there any actual movement like, yes, we will reduce this, we will focus more on renewable energies, things like that?
You know what's interesting is the research again that we are conducting often shows, and we have a study that's coming that I'll be able to share in our next conversation much more detail about, related to the barriers and drivers and the desires consumers have to see on climate action that will drive bottom line growth for clients. So it's really important for us to identify and share the truth about what consumers want to see from our clients, so that our clients, again, in the pursuit of growth and the pursuit of profit, can actually look at what's really a demand, in fact, that consumers have in every single sector for those clients to be more sustainable. The other thing I take heart in is knowing that the majority of our clients are on this journey, developing science-based targets, setting net zero goals, and ensuring that they are doing their part. As mentioned, every single sector has to decarbonize. So we are very, inspired to see that that's happening across every single sector to varying degrees of commitment. But again, our role in showing the research and proving that it can be more profitable if you actually do take a concerted effort on climate action, because our research is resoundingly saying absolutely.
Okay. And I do, as a little, asterisk point, I think it would be helpful for the people watching if you clarify a little bit, like you had corrected me again when I was first learning how to do all this, the difference between some of the verbiage. So carbon neutral versus net zero, because that's one of the ways I think companies get away with greenwashing, is saying that we're carbon neutral, but are you net zero? Can you quickly explain the difference?
Absolutely. Carbon neutral relies on the purchase of carbon offsets, which are programs that are built to either sequester carbon, so it can be a nature-based solution like planting trees, for example, to engineered solutions that are like direct air capture, which actually suck the carbon out of the atmosphere and sequester it in the earth. So there are, with carbon neutral, again, it's reliant upon the tantamount purchase of offsets to then get to a neutral emission. Reduction really is the goal, however, and offset should really be seen as a last step in the process. That 93% we need to reduce, meaning you need to change behavior in your organization, purchase renewable energy, and then finally, as the ultimate final step, the purchasing of carbon credits can go towards, in the Science-Based Target Initiative, they set 10% as the maximum that's permitted in order to reach net zero.
Got you.
So
Okay.
it's a nuance, it's important, and I think the EU's also gotten really smart on identifying the greenwashing risk there for consumers, is making it very clear, and they're debating, in fact, the permissibility of a brand to actually even state that they are carbon neutral versus net zero.
Understood, understood. We do have some people commenting about the heat waves that are going on right now and how relevant our conversation is about, the urgency of climate initiatives. Have you kind of felt the heat in the work that you do, trying to, push timelines forward?
Yeah, it keeps me up at night, and it makes the work feel urgent to everyone I speak to. The heat waves, we've experienced the hottest ever recorded temperature on this planet, on a number of days in this month, in fact. We've also experienced air quality concerns as a result of climate change, exacerbated forest fires in Canada, here in the Northeast and in the Midwest. So it's impossible now for folks to deny that our climate is changing. So it does aid in part the conversation that I'm having with essential and key stakeholders, because again, we are physically experiencing it, whether in our lungs or in our on our bodies. So it becomes a much easier conversation to at least quell any question about the veracity of climate change.
Understood. So then moving forward, what does your job look like? I know that you talked about making steps and the measurement side of things. So what's next?
Yeah, listen, we've got a 5-point climate action plan that's going to keep me very busy. We are focusing, of course, on our operations. So working aggressively towards our net zero target of 2040. We are working to decarbonize the media ecosystem. We've set that 30% reduction goal. We're going to keep setting that goal lower and lower. We want to make sure we're getting towards net zero in media as well. We also know that it's very important to focus on climate mis and disinformation. Right now, 40% of Americans, even though we are physically experiencing climate change, don't necessarily believe it's as bad as it is. So it's very important that we in the ad industry are not inadvertently funding climate mis and disinformation. So that's where partners like the Global Disinformation Index, the Conscious Advertising Network, all become really important in the identification of publishers and partners that are allowing unabated climate mis and disinformation to flourish. And we want to identify and demonetize and defund those platforms so that we're not further supporting climate mis and disinformation. That's a really important area of focus for us. And then we also just need to continue to drive education. I know in our prior conversation, I shared with you that in the near term, we're going to be able to share some exciting news related to a global campaign that we're working on with the partner. I don't have details that I can share just yet, but I want folks to know that in the industry, we are focused on this, and we are aggressively working towards all of these goals that we've set. And then, of course, the final of our 5-point climate action plan is we want to celebrate the commitment that our clients are doing. So we're going to get up on stage at Cannes and other festivals and really shout about the client work that really is demonstrating that purpose and profit work well together, and that sustainability can drive growth for our businesses.
Well, I will definitely be holding you to that and checking in to see how you're doing. We're just about done with our time, but so I want to thank you, Martin, so much for joining us. Hopefully, everybody that watched learned something like I did every time that I speak with you.
Thank you so much, Aleda. It's been great to chat with you, and I look forward to future conversations.
Of course. And as always, thank you to our Ad Age crew, Lauren Ciardio and Anna Sakula, for making these remote leads happen. Thank you to everyone who watched for tuning in today, and we will see you next time.